This presentation explains the behavior of the transistor as a switch, defines transistor switching times, and goes on to establish expressions for the delay time, the rise time, and fall time using the hybrid pi model. Junction diodes and transistors have extreme regions of operation in which, number one, they do not conduct even when large voltages are applied, and number two, regions in which they conduct heavily even when relatively small voltages are applied. In the first of these regions, when they do not conduct, the device is described as being off, open, or non-conducting. In the latter region, the device is said to be on, closed, or conducting. When the device is driven from one extreme condition to the other, it operates much like a switch. There are then two situations of interest. One, the steady state, and two, the transient. The first, that is the steady state, deals with the situation where the device is in either one of the two states. Transient characteristics determine the speed of the transition. There is a limit to which the speed with which the switching transition between the extreme states can be made. As compared to a mechanical switch, a transistor may be operated electrically and may be made to respond more rapidly. It is useful to divide a transistor's range of operation into three regions: cutoff, active, and saturation. In the cutoff region, along with the abbreviation on top which reads at emitter base junction reverse biased, collector base junction reverse biased. Both emitter and collector junctions are reverse biased. Only a small reverse saturation current flows across the junctions. In cutoff, the transistors operating in a region below the characteristic for IE equal to 0. This characteristic corresponds to the reverse collector saturation current ICO. On the right, the characteristics that have been shown are for the common base configuration. At cutoff, ICO is almost but not precisely coincident with the axis IC equal to 0. It is required that the transistor must be in cutoff for the open switch. In the active region, the emitter base junction is forward biased and the collector base junction is reverse biased. The transistor responds linearly to an input signal. Hence, this is the region most often used for an amplifier. In switching operations, this region is not of great interest because the transistor switches abruptly from cutoff to saturation and spends ideally an insignificant amount of time in the active region. In the saturation region, the emitter base junction is forward biased. The collector base junction is effectively forward biased. We never directly forward bias the collector base junction because a huge and heavy current will flow in forward bias and damage the transistor. So the region to the left of the ordinate VCB equal to 0 and above IE equal to 0 is the saturation region. Here the emitter and collector junctions are both effectively forward biased. The voltages across the individual junctions or across a combination of junctions are small, usually in the millivolt range. Accordingly, when a transistor switch is required to be in the closed or conducting state, it is driven into saturation. When the transistor is used as a switch in the common base configuration, the input emitter current required to operate the switch is nominally as large as the collector current being switched. In the common collector configuration, the input voltage required to operate the switch is nominally as large as the supply voltage. However, in the common emitter configuration, the input switching signal, which can be a current or voltage, is small in comparison with the switched output current or voltage. Hence, common emitter configuration is most generally used for a transistor switch. Consider a transistor switch driven by a pulse waveform as shown on the right. At V2, the transistor is in cutoff. At V1, the transistor is in saturation. An input waveform Vi is applied between the base and emitter through a resistance Rs, which may be included explicitly in the circuit or may represent the output impedance of the source which furnishes the waveform. Come to the definitions of the transistor switching times. The first is a delay time. The collector current does not immediately respond to the input signal. Instead, there is a delay. The time that elapses during this delay, together with the time required for the current to rise to 10% of its maximum value, that is the saturation value given by ICS equal to VCC upon RC, is called the delay time. Rise time is the time required for the current to rise from 10 to 90% of ICS and it is represented by TR. Turn on time. The sum of the delay time and the rise time is known as turn on time, and it is represented by T on is equal to TR plus TT. When the input signal returns to its initial state, the current again fails to respond immediately. Storage time is the interval which elapses between the transition of the input waveform and the time when the collector current has dropped to 90% of its saturation value. It is represented by Ts. The time required by the collector current to fall from 90 to 10% of its saturation value is known as fall time. The sum of the storage and fall times is known as turn off time, T off. We shall now consider the physical reasons for the existence of each of these times and how they may be determined quantitatively. In our analysis, we shall use both the equivalent circuit approach and the excess minority charge control method. Delay time. There are three factors that contribute to the delay time. First, there is a delay resulting from the fact that when the driving signal is applied to the transistor input, a non-zero time is required to charge up the junction capacitances so that the transistor may be brought from cutoff to the active region. Second, even when the transistor has been brought to the point where minority carriers have begun to cross the emitter junction to the base, a non-zero time is required before these carriers can cross the base region to the collector junction and be recorded as collector current. Finally, a non-zero time is required by the collector current to rise to 10% of its saturation value. To consider now the first of these contributions to the delay time, we replace the transistor by its hybrid pi model. Since the transistor is operating at cutoff, we are concerned with the response to a fast waveform. The hybrid pi circuit reduces to the figure shown above this text box. Now RB-E is inversely proportional to IE. So at cutoff the emitter current is 0. Its reciprocal is infinite, hence RB-E is neglected. The emitter diffusion capacitance CDE is also neglected as at cutoff as it is proportional to the quiescent emitter current, which in this case is 0. The emitter capacitance reduces to CTE, the emitter junction capacitance. This capacitance may be measured between the terminals B and E, neglecting the comparatively small resistance RBB- with collector junction open circuited. CTE is accordingly referred to as CIB, the common base input transition capacitance. RB-C is large enough to be usually neglected even in the active region, leaving B' and C with only the transition capacitance CTC, which is equal to CB-C, which is equal to COB. The transconductance GM is 0 at cutoff. Hence, the current generator GM-VB-E is also omitted. The collector has been shorted to emitter because in the cutoff range, the collector voltage does not change. The charging time of the capacitor is TD1. It is easily calculated as follows. The base voltage starts at V2 and would go to V1 if the transistor did not come out of cutoff. Therefore, starting with the equation R dq by dt plus q by c is equal to V, the solution is well known where q is equal to q0 1 minus e to the minus t by rc, or in terms of voltage it is V is equal to V0 1 minus e to the minus t by rc. Or in general, V0 is equal to B1 plus B2 e to the minus t by rc. At t equal to 0, V0 is equal to V2 is equal to B1 plus B2. As t tends to infinity, V0 is equal to V1 plus is equal to B1. Therefore, P2 is equal to V2 minus V1. Therefore, VB-E, which is equal to V1 plus V2 minus V1 e to the minus t by rc, is represented by VB-E is equal to V1 plus V2 minus V1 e to the minus t by tau I. Here tau I is equal to Rs prime CIB plus COB. It is the input time constant. A forward cut-in voltage is required for the emitter diode before an appreciable current can flow, and reasonable values for silicon are 0.5 volt. For germanium it is 0.1 volt. Therefore V gamma is equal to V1 plus V2 minus V1 e to the minus t by tau I. Or t is equal to tau I log to the base c V1 minus V2 upon V1 minus V gamma. Or TD1 is equal to Rs prime CIB plus COB log to the base E V1 minus V2 upon V1 minus V gamma. For large values of V1 compared with V gamma and V2, TD1 becomes very small. Also, if the transistor is not very far into cutoff, then V2 is approximately equal to V gamma, TD1 approaches 0. Both these statements follow from the equation above and are exactly what should be expected physically. Let us now look at the second contribution to the delay time. It is calculated that in the steady state, the transit time of the minority carriers across the base is given by TB, which is equal to 1 upon omega t, where ft is equal to omega t by 2 pi. It is a frequency at which the short circuit common emitter current gain attains unit magnitude. When the minority carriers are first injected into the base, the situation is not steady state. Hence, it has been shown that the first minority carriers make their appearance in the collector at a time given by Tb by 3. For the third contribution, we need a calculation of the rise time. Consider the case in which the transistor is driven into saturation by the application of a step of current Ib1 to the transistor base. If Rs is very much larger than the impedance that appears between the base and the emitter, then response of the transistor to a current step is given by IL is equal to minus HFE Rs I upon Rs plus HIE 1 minus e to the minus twice by f2t, where tau is equal to 1 upon twice by f2, which is equal to HFE upon omega t 1 plus omega t Cc Rl. To understand how this expression comes about, we need to understand the response of a transistor to an input current step. A transistor is driven by a generator of impedance R and it is represented by its Norton equivalent. The generator, however, is represented by its Thevenin equivalent. It is well known that the frequency response of a transistor stage driven from a resistive source and working toward a resistive load is that of a low-pass circuit with a single time constant tau. For such a network, the response to a unit input step is given by A0, 1 minus e to the minus t by tau, where A0 is the steady state voltage. The rise time of this exponential waveform is given by Tr equal to 2.2 tau, which is equal to 0.35 f upon f2. If a current generator of impedance Rs applies a step of current I at the transistor input, then IL is equal to minus HFE Rs upon Rs plus HI 1 minus e to the minus twice by f2t. If the source is a voltage generator which supplies a step of voltage V, the output voltage VO is equal to minus HFE RL upon Rs plus HI V 1 minus e to the minus twice by f2t. In each case, the frequency f2 depends upon Rs and RL in accordance with f2 given by 1 upon twice by Rc, where R is equal to Rs plus Rbb dash into Rb dash E upon Rs plus HIE and C is equal to C plus Cc 1 plus GmRL. The rise time increases linearly with RL. Since Tr is proportional to C, for an ideal current source, Rs is equal to infinity. The current gain is AISO given by HFE, and it follows from AISO F2 equal to Ft upon 1 plus twice by Ft Cc RL Rs upon Rs plus Rbb dash that tau is equal to 1 upon twice by F2 given by HFE upon omega t 1 plus omega t Cc RL. At low frequencies, the current gain AIO is equal to IL upon II, which is equal to minus GmVb dash E upon GB dash E Vb dash E. AIO is equal to IL upon II, which is equal to minus HFE. Therefore, the low frequency current gain, taking both load and source impedance into account, is now going to be given by IL upon I equal to IL upon II into II upon I, which is equal to minus HFE Rs upon Rs plus Rbb dash plus Rb dash E, which is equal to minus HFE Rs upon Rs plus HIE, since HIE is equal to Rbb dash plus Rb dash E. So, continuing with the rise time response of the transistor, in the expression IL is equal to minus HFE Rs I upon Rs plus HIE 1 minus e to the minus twice by f2t, tau is equal to 1 upon twice by f2 given by HFE upon omega t 1 plus omega t CCRL. Here IC is equal to minus IL and IB1 is equal to I. Therefore, IC becomes equal to HFE IB1 1 minus e to the minus t by tau r, where tau r is equal to HFE upon omega t 1 plus omega t CCRL. And CC is simply COB. HFE with capital subscripts has been used instead of HFE with lowercase subscripts because we will be applying to a large signal case corresponding to a switch. Now IBA is the base current required by the transistor to just leave the active region and enter saturation. Therefore, HFE IBA is equal to ICS, which is equal to VCC upon RC. T0.1 is the time taken by the collector current to rise to 10% of its saturation value, 0.1 ICS. So 0.1 ICS is equal to HFE IB1 1 minus e to the minus T0.1 upon tau R. Therefore, T0.1 becomes equal to tau R ln 1 upon 1 minus 0.1 N1. N1, which is equal to HFE IB1 upon ICS, is known as the overdrive factor. It can also be written as IB1 upon ICS upon HFE, which is IB1 upon IBA. This quantity represents the ratio of the actual base current IB1 to the base current just enough to achieve saturation IBA. N1 therefore must be at least unity if the transistor is to be driven into saturation. Finally, the rise time TR is equal to T0.9 minus T0.1. So T0.9 as before is given by tau R ln 1 upon 1 minus 0.9 upon N1. So TR becomes equal to tau R ln 1 minus 0.1 upon N1 upon 1 minus 0.9 upon N1. This result may be simplified if the transistor is driven deeply into saturation. We can use the logarithmic expansion log to the base e 1 plus x is equal to x minus x squared by 2 plus x cubed by 3 and so on. So TR becomes equal to 0.8 tau R upon N1, 1 plus 0.5 upon N1 plus 0.3 upon N1 square and so on. Where N1 is very much larger than 1, then TR becomes equal to 0.8 tau R upon N1 approximately, which is given by 0.8 tau R upon HFE into ICS upon IB1. For a condition of heavy overdrive, the rise time is independent of HFE because tau R upon HFE does not depend upon HFE. For this reason and because TR varies inversely with IB1, it is advantageous to drive a transistor well into saturation with a large base current if it is desired to minimize the turn-on time. The fall time is calculated in a manner analogous to that used to find the rise time. During the course of returning from near cutoff, the transistor passes through the active region. The time constant is the same as that used for the rise time. Now, the situation is the current starts at the saturation value ICS and would go to HFE IB2 if the circuit continued to behave linearly instead of reaching cutoff. The base current IB2, which is applied to drive the transistor to cutoff, is usually a reverse current which persists until the collector current has just about reached zero. This reverse current will shorten the fall time just as it shortens the storage time. Corresponding to the overdrive factor N1 for rise time calculations, we may define a parameter N2 given by minus HFE IB2 upon ICS. Now, since IB2 is of an opposite sign to ICS, N2 is actually a positive number. We will have time T0.9 for the collector current to fall to 0.9 ICS. It is given by T0.9 equal to tau R log to the base e 1 plus 1 upon N2 upon 1 plus 0.9 upon N2. So the fall time required by the collector current to fall from 90 to 10% of its saturation value will then be given by TF is equal to T0.1 minus T0.9, which is equal to tau R log to the base e 1 plus 0.9 upon N2 upon 1 plus 0.1 upon N2. For large N2, we expand the logarithm, giving us TF is equal to 0.8 tau R upon N2, 1 minus 0.5 upon N2 plus 0.3 upon N2 square, and so on. A heavy overdrive in the reverse direction means that N2 is very much larger than 1. So TF is approximately equal to 0.8 tau R upon N2, which is equal to minus 0.8 tau R upon HFE ICS upon IB2. This expression is independent of HFE as tau R is proportional to HFE.